What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 83 of the Finale podcast. I'm your host, Markos, and today I'm going solo for the first time in the Finale's history to talk about some NFL current events and also look ahead to Championship Sunday of the NFL playoffs. So, as I said, I'm going solo. Couldn't get anyone on the pod for today, but hopefully for the Super Bowl, we have a full crew, or at least most of the guys that have appeared during the season, and we can make a good final episode of the season for you guys, but plenty to talk about today, so let's get right into it. First topic on the agenda is the Chargers hiring Jim Harbaugh, former 49ers head coach and recently the Michigan head coach. Um, Overall, my thoughts on this move is, I think it's a good move for the Chargers to bring in a guy like this, a guy that has NFL experience, coaching experience. I think it's not too risky, although most college hires are risky. I feel like Jim Harbaugh is a different sort of candidate where there's a lot of intrigue behind the hiring because he has the NFL experience and now he's coming into a situation with Justin Herbert, and I'm interested to see what kind of offense he's going to be able to implement into the Chargers organization. But overall, I feel like it's a good landing spot for him. I'm expecting it to be a smooth transition. I don't know how long they're going to be. I know they gave him a 5-year contract, but I'm not sure how long the patience will be with him, how much time he'll be given. But I think it's going to be a good move eventually. It might take a little bit of time, just given the current outlook of the roster. They're kind of older in some areas, may need to move on from certain guys, kind of rebuild it a little bit, retool it. But I like the hire. I think it's an intriguing option ultimately because he was a head coaching candidate for the past couple of seasons. I know a couple seasons ago he was with the Vikings interviewing over there. They didn't get the deal done. Um and I remember last year he had an interview as well. So I don't know if other teams wanted Jim Harbaugh. I think he did have an interview with Atlanta, but seemed like LA was or just a big market team like Las Vegas was going to be the destination for Harbaugh. So I think this is a good landing spot for him, and we'll see how it works out. I mean, Justin Herbert still only one playoff appearance, zero playoff wins. So looking forward to seeing what this partnership's going to look like and how this Chargers team's going to change. They got the draft pick coming up. It's a higher pick, so wondering what they're going to do with that selection. They could go in a different number of areas. I mean, defense could upgrade in certain spots depending on their departures. Then offensively, maybe they go for some lineman help. Maybe they try to get receiving help and move on from Keenan Allen. I don't know what they're going to do there. But there's a number of ways that this team could. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Harbaugh can do over there and how much time he'll be given to execute his plan, because I think it's going to be a good hire as long as they have the belief and the patience in him to be their guy. I think it's going to take some time. I forgot to say, but with how the Staley tenure ended, how long will it take for them to recover from that? There might be some players that are still going to be not affected by that, but like still on the roster from that era. So how long will it take for Jim Harbaugh to really build his team out? So I think it's going to take a couple of seasons, but I think they gave him a 5-year contract. I'm not exactly sure, but it should be some time before, maybe a couple of years before he really gets to put his plan into place. But we've seen first year head coaches do well and go straight to the playoffs as well. So we'll see what happens. But I like to hire. Should be a good one for the Chargers, and definitely seems like they're excited about it. Next one up, Antonio Pierce, officially becoming the next head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. I think it's the right move for the Raiders. They were considering, I believe, Bill Belichick and some other names out there, more high profile options. But Antonio Pierce, we can all agree, I feel like he did well in his time. And I think he was deserving of this opportunity because he has the support from the players. We saw Max Crosby come out reportedly saying he wouldn't come back to the team if Antonio Pierce wasn't brought back. So I like that the Raiders are showing faith in Antonio Pierce to be their guy. Definitely embodies what the organization is about, what it's been about back in Oakland, and what they're trying to become. So I like the things that he did when he was there. So I'm curious to see how he's going to be building on that next season and, you know, forward from there, next season and so forth. Another thing I'm looking at is what are they going to do at the quarterback position because they brought in Jimmy Garoppolo last season and safe to say that hasn't worked out. I don't know if they're going to continue with that. And then Aiden O'Connell mixed results, I believe, when he played this season. So do they go quarterback in the first round? Do they go in a different position? Maybe, upgrade the defense, even though the defense is definitely the strong part of their team. Where do they go from here? Curious to see, but I think, in my opinion, I would go quarterback because their offense is lacking given their weapons. Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs surround those guys with a capable quarterback. I think it makes the offense much more potent. And I think Antonio Pierce already has a good handle of the defense, and they can upgrade the quarterback's the most essential position in the offense or in the team. So look at the quarterback position as the one you have to get right. And then their defense just fill it out with the holes, I guess, in that area. But I think quarterback got it has to be the position that they address in the first round. But that's just my thoughts on it. We'll see what they do. But for this move, I think it's a good move for the Raiders to, at least give Antonio Pierce a chance to really cultivate a culture that he's, looking to build in Las Vegas. So looking forward to it. Next hire I wanted to talk about was the Bucks hiring Dave Canales. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. Dave Canales. So formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, and then this year had a successful season with Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield kind of, getting him in a position to get a payday this offseason. So I think he's ready for this opportunity um, to be, Bryce Young's guy for many years to come. The hope is. And, looking forward to seeing how they build out the rest of this team because obviously the past couple head coaches haven't had too much success, Frank Reich and Matt Rule. So looking to see how things are going to be different. Ownership questions are coming up of late with you know, things that have gone on with their owner. So what are they going to do to, support Canales and his journey to build this team out and back to where they belong in the Cam Newton era, Ron Rivera era. So I'm looking forward to it too. Like I like these head coaching hirings for these teams. I'm not gonna lie, but this one is one of the most intriguing ones for me because of how quick he's been able to succeed with, a team like the Bucks, who personally I didn't see doing what they did this year. So I like the move for the Panthers to bring in a younger head coach to surround himself with a young roster in, certain areas they are veteran like, but they got some young guys with obviously Bryce Young, and then on the defensive side, some young guys there. So um, his control is going to be on the offense, and then, we'll see what the defensive coordinator position looks like. But I think he has some pieces, and so did Frank Reich. These are the same pieces, but I think he has some pieces to where if he addresses the needs in the offseason and he has the full support of the ownership and general manager, they could easily contend for the NFC South crown next year because nobody's really fully separated themselves in that division, and the Bucks are obviously going to have to find another offensive coordinator for Baker Mayfield if Baker Mayfield returns. So that's another, learning curve he's going to have to go through. So it's anybody's division next year, and yeah, we'll see what they do. But I like Dave Canales. I think he's an up and coming head coach in this league for sure. Next one, another NFC South team is Raheem Morris getting hired by the Atlanta Falcons. Actually used to be their defensive coordinator and was their interim head coach for a short period before they went for their last head coach. Blanking on his name right now, Arthur Smith, I want to say his name is. Uh, I like this move. Jalen Ramsey speaks highly of him, so I mean, I think that's a good sign. Just given how people can gravitate towards him, and they already have the defensive pieces. I would say last year their defense, performed well in stretches of the season, and then certain stretches they weren't able to get the job done and put themselves in a better position to contend for that division. But I think they showed some promising signs. Of course, brought in Jesse Bates, who made his impact pretty early on. Then they have some other guys there like AJ Terrell that's young and up and coming. So I think it's a good job for Raheem Morris to take and really, build out that defense and make that, make his mark on that side of the ball. And then offensively, you have the quarterback situation that's needing to be addressed with Desmond Ridder not really showing that he's the guy yet, and then Taylor Heineke really being a career backup. So where are you going to go in the draft to address that potentially, or in the offseason to address that? There's Kirk Cousins rumors. Where do they want to go at the quarterback position? So it's going to be important for them to make sure they bring in the right offensive coordinator to build out that offense and really help those weapons thrive because they have some guys like Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and Bijan Robinson who at times have underperformed. So, you want to see them improve and, live up to their potential. So, looking forward to seeing where, they build out this team. But I think this is another good move for the Falcons, and we'll see how long he has to really build out this team. But like I said with the Bucks, any team can really contend in this division. It's that close. So, looking forward to seeing what impact Raheem Morris has on the Falcons next season. Next topic up, wanted to address a team that lost in the divisional round last week, and that's the Buffalo Bills. So yeah, the Buffalo Bills have had playoff heartbreak after playoff heartbreak, and it's been, a little bit repetitive at this point. So I just, was thinking a fair question to ask is where do they go from here? Um, and I personally think they should run it back, but move off of some of the veteran guys that have been on these runs with them for a couple of years now. And that can even include Von Miller, who's only been there for a couple of seasons. But I think it's just time maybe to, address certain areas, revamp certain areas, even though those guys have, balled out in their time there. Could be time for change because, change is always important in the NFL. You can't really ride out a team for too long if they're not able to get it done. And obviously, the biggest barrier for them has been the Chiefs. So they're so close. They just need to address, their the personal things that are holding them back, which I think is, aspects of the defense, and how they can improve in that area. And then offensively, more consistency overall, which they showed after they let go of the offensive coordinator. So just putting it together for a whole season, I think is going to do them good and just putting themselves in the best position possible to really just be able to finally get over the Chiefs because this was the year they should have been able to do it with the Chiefs struggling, but the Chiefs just have found a spark, when postseason play started, and now they're riding a hot hand going into Baltimore. So it's unfortunate that the Bills weren't able to get it done this year again, but I think there's some promising things to look at with that team. As far as Sean McDermott, I think it's already been said that he's going to come back, and I think that's the right decision to make. Dealt with some adversity this year with, his comments on certain issues or on an issue, which I won't go too much into, but I think he's the guy for them to continue just to be with this team. It's unfortunate that they've gotten to this, playoff points where, divisionals or championship rounds and haven't been able to get over the hump, but it's no doubt a promising sign that they've been able to consistently compete in the playoffs, compared to what they've been used to in prior years where they're, just trying to get to the playoffs. So I think they're so close. And when they do finally get over the hump, it's just going to be such a rewarding feeling because of everything that they've gone through, for guys like Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, just guys like that have been through it. It's going to be such a promising feeling. And, like I said earlier, with getting rid of some of these veteran guys, part of me would, love for them to obviously be a part of their winning, but how long are you going to continue to run back a team when, you know, it's already showing that that team is not able to get it done in the most important part of the season. So that's why I think it's just going to be tough, but you got to take a hard, look inward and really make those tough decisions if you're the general manager. And I think that's what they're going to have to do. But yeah, I think there's some promising signs to look forward to with this team. They're going to continue to contend and they're going to continue to be atop that AFC East division as long as the Patriots are, still in that rebuilding phase and the Jets are kind of figuring out what they're, going to look like next year with Aaron Rodgers. And then the Dolphins, still yet to have a playoff win with McDaniel and Tua. So yeah, I mean, they're still the number one team, the Bills are, and really what they're looking at is how do we get to that point where that we haven't reached, which is the Super Bowl. So I think just continue to go at it again next year and give it your best shot and see what happens. But it's unfortunate. I think it's still promising though that they're able to consistently contend and similar to the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, like eventually they're finally going to get to that point and like Lamar Jackson could this week and get over the hump. So yeah, the AFC runs through the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and you're gonna have to be able to go through him. Um, this is the year where they couldn't get it done again, and they're gonna have to address that in the offseason where they want to improve. But I think continue to just keep fighting and go at it. I think eventually their time's gonna come. With all that being covered, I think it's time to go into the playoff previews and playoff picks for me. So first game up is the Chiefs traveling to the Ravens. The Ravens are the favorites in this game, being the number one seed. But I think it's by a 3 point spread, I want to say. I don't know too much about like this whole stuff. So I just looked up the betting odds and it looks like the Chiefs are 3 point underdogs. So I think that's fair. The Baltimore Ravens have been good at home for a large part of the season. Um, last week pretty much took care of the Texans after the first half, didn't have too many problems with them after they really locked in and showed why they are the number one seed. And M&T Bank Stadium is a tough place to play and win at. So another challenge for the Chiefs to go on the road and get the job done in a hostile environment. Personally, though, I'm gonna have to go with the Chiefs to win this game. They're still the Chiefs, and they're still a team to be reckoned with, a force to be reckoned with, and it's gonna be tough to take down Mahomes and that offense with the way they're playing right now and the way that defense is playing. Definitely going to be a bigger challenge than anything that the Texans presented the Ravens defense with last week or the Ravens with last week in general. So I think it's going to be an interesting matchup. It's going to be a close matchup for sure. But what I believe is going to come down to is the offensive execution in this game against some two great defenses. All year long, the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs have put out good defensive results and good defensive play. So I think it's going to come down to the offensive execution, and that's where I see the Baltimore Ravens potentially dealing with some looks that they could struggle with. And with the way the Chiefs are playing right now and the way they just have that championship DNA, it's going to take something real heroic, in my opinion, to be able to knock off the Chiefs in this type of game because I feel like the Chiefs are going to come to play for sure. And this is a team, like I said in the past, like this is a team that's the most feared in the conference and the team that you're going to have to get through to go to that Super Bowl. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup, but I think, a couple things I'm looking at in this game besides, the offense. I want to see how, I want to see how the run game looks on both sides of the ball. How is Pacheco going to be effective in this game? And the Chiefs, they have a, multiple backfield system. So, how will they be able to go at the Ravens defense, who has been good against the run this year? And then on the other side, the Ravens run game has been good this year without J.K. Dobbins. Gus Edwards and Justice Hill have put in good performances for a large part of the year. So how is the Chiefs defense going to be able to cope with that? That's another thing to look at. And yeah, I just think ultimately it's going to be a close game and it's going to come down to the little things at the end. And yeah, Um, most of the time, the Chiefs are the favorite when it comes to that. So that's where I'm going to go with. I'm going to say the Chiefs win this game 28-24. If I had to get a little bit more specific, I'm going to say the Ravens have the ball at the end of the game, needing a touchdown, being down by 4, and it's not going to happen. And that's just the way I see it. But I would I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens won this game, and I definitely would want to see Lamar Jackson get that Super Bowl because he's the type of quarterback who you want to see win. He promised it to Baltimore when he got drafted, and you want to see him make good on that promise. And he's definitely another MVP season for him. So, um, looking forward to seeing what this game's gonna come down to. But I'm gonna pick the Chiefs. And then the next game, Lions 49ers. It's going to be an interesting matchup. Just for me, the Lions have been really good this year at home, And during the playoff run at home, they've been good offensively for sure. Just want to point out the offense first because Jared Goff has been accurate in the playoffs. He's been given time in the pocket to really pick apart the Rams and Bucks defense. And then the run game, when you have a guy like Jameer Gibbs in the backfield, and then you have a guy like Dave Montgomery, the 1-2 combo. It's just like when one guy's not really contributing at the level that he consistently contributes at, you have the other guy picking up the slack, and that was the case last week with Jameer Gibbs, doing that for Dave Montgomery, and then when they're both on it, it's just really hard to stop. Then in the past game, Amon-Ra St. Brown making key plays, and then Samuel Porter having a big day. So it's just like you never know what's going to come from this offense, and you never know what kind of trickery they're going to throw at you. And I like to point to that play in the red zone where Craig Reynolds got the touchdown, and that's the third running back of the Lions, and he's getting goal line touches. So I think that just shows that they have so many different things to throw at you, not let alone the fourth down plays that they do. It's just like such an unpredictable team and such a tough team to prepare for, I think. So it's going to be a challenge for the 49ers. Um, Another thing I'm going to look at is how this Lions team travels and plays on the road because that's something they're not used to, and they're an inexperienced team, and that's nothing that's held them back in the past two games. But how is that going to work when they go onto the road and, play a team that's really good at home, hasn't lost a home playoff game at Levi Stadium? How are they going to look? It's going to be interesting for me. And then defensively, pass defense of the Lions is really their weakness. Luckily, they've been able to overcome it. Although Mike Evans and Puka Nacua had good games against them, they've been able to overcome it with the pass rush and getting pressure on the quarterback, forcing mistakes. So how is Brock Purdy going to be affected by that rush defense or that pass rush rather? And also, how is Christian McCaffrey going to be looking? Because the Lions' run defense is pretty good, but Christian McCaffrey is obviously the X factor of this offense for San Fran. So, how is that going to be affected? And how effective will he be in the game if they're able to, how effective will the 49ers offense be in the game if they're not able to get much out of McCaffrey? But I don't expect that to happen. Debo Samuel's going to be back. Uh, and it's going to be hard for the Lions to deal with all this stuff. But the biggest thing for me, yeah, is like how the Lions play on the road environment and in this high stakes game hasn't been something that phased them in the past. So I don't expect it to really phase them in this environment. But that's just the biggest thing for me because they've gone on the road this year and they've looked bad, but they've also gone on the road lately or recently against the Dallas Cowboys and they, looked capable. So we'll see what happens, but for me, I'm gonna say the experience is gonna prevail in a close one. I want to say the 49ers win the game. And it's gonna come down to Christian McCaffrey being the X factor. X factors on both sides for me is Jared Goff and Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey is gonna prevail, and we might see Jared Goff make a couple mistakes as Jordan Love did last week and affect his rhythm. So yeah, I'm gonna say the 49ers win this game by a score of 31, 31 to 27. I think it's going to be a 4 point game again. Um, yeah, this is a different Lions team right now, the way they're playing. I don't think they're just going to completely be, manhandled in this game. Um, the line is 7 points. So 7 point favorites are the 49ers, but yeah, I think it's gonna be a closer game than that. I just think the Lions offense is playing like the best offense in the league right now. So it's hard for me to expect that to completely switch, but we've seen in the playoffs before, like a team coming into the championship game hot and then just look pretty bad. 2015 Arizona Cardinals and then 2017 Minnesota Vikings come to mind. So, and this is a less experienced Lions team. Ultimately, though, I don't think it's going to be too much of a factor. I think this Lions team is built different, and I believe they're going to put in a good performance in this game. But I could definitely see the other side of that where they just the moment is too big for them. But regardless, this is a successful season for the Detroit Lions, and this is a step forward compared to where they've been the last 30 seasons. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this NFC North is going to look for the future. As a Vikings fan, you're curious because you got the Bears coming up. The Packers obviously looked really good in this playoffs, and then the Lions obviously, being a really good team this year. So it's going to be a really tight division for years to come, I would imagine. But yeah, in this game, I got the 49ers winning it 20 or 31 to 27. It's going to be a close one, but it's going to come down to Christian McCaffrey making the plays to win the game. And that's what I think is going to happen. But yeah, short episode today. As I said, going solo. So, not much to really go off of, but hopefully I, went into some topics that were of relevance. And of course, with the championship Sunday, talked about that as much as, I think was needed. But I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl episode for sure. And more importantly, looking forward to seeing what happens in these championship games. But yeah, my predictions are Chiefs Lions rematch in the Super Bowl from week 1. So we'll see what happens, as we always say. It's going to be a good weekend of football and looking forward to seeing what happens. But that was everything for episode 83 of the Finale podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, for the continued support, and we'll, continue to get these episodes out week by week. And yeah, appreciate the viewers right now and continuing to grow the channel, trying to see how we can, push the Finale podcast to that next level day by day. But appreciate the support, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace.